Hi, Alexander. Nice to see you have another set of essays. Let's take a look at what you wrote. Father's working, mother's staying, rather, father is staying home, mother's working. Let's see what you said about this. Okay. The issue of whether raising a child is a responsibility of the mother or father has grown in importance over the last years. Nowadays, an increasing number of fathers decide to stay at home with their children while mothers go out to work. Therefore, people around the globe ponder the reasons for such a trend and argue whether this is positive or negative. This essay will analyze both issues using examples from a recent study by the Spanish government and a report from the Daily Mail to demonstrate points and prove the argument. Okay, so the grammar here was fine, except for this last thing, improve arguments, okay? Not the argument. So let me tell you what was good. The grammar was good. It was accurate. The vocabulary was fine. So let's talk now about what was a little problematic for me. The first thing is that it felt a little long. And if you look at it, it's pretty much, maybe it's like a line less, but it's a rather long paragraph. I don't think you needed to write all this. It's almost as long as your body paragraph, which for me means one of two things. It means either you wrote too much in your introduction or you didn't write enough in your body paragraph, okay? But having read it, I can tell you, you wrote a little too much. Why is that bad? It's not bad per se, but you want to avoid it because you're essentially taking away time that you could be using to better develop your body paragraphs and that you could be using to check your writing. Okay. The introduction, remember, it's supposed to do two things. It's supposed to introduce the topic, all right, with a general rephrasing of what it says in the prompt, and then present your opinion. And that's it. And this last point is what I want to bring to your attention now. You didn't present your opinion, your position. There are two questions here, okay? You told us that you're going to ponder both issues. So as far as the reasons are concerned, okay, we can deal with that. But you never told us if it is in fact a positive or negative development, okay? You said people argue around the world, the reasons for such a trend, and argue whether this is positive or negative. This essay will analyze both issues and explain why this is a positive trend using examples, etc., etc. Okay, it's really that simple. I could have accepted not knowing at least by name what some of the reasons are, but I do need to know if you think it's a positive or negative development. So I think you could have gotten rid of this sentence. All right, this first one here. You could have started your sentence here. I'm sorry, you could have started your paragraph here. You could have just made maybe a quick fix, something like, nowadays, an increasing number of fathers are deciding, that's another thing, because nowadays really wants an ing, are deciding to stay at home with their children while mothers go out to work. And that would have been fine. So you really didn't need this for a sentence, okay? You don't even, yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it's fine. Um, yeah, okay, so those changes to your introduction. Let's keep going. Firstly, there is ample evidence that recently women have generally, look, you have to be careful with these time markers. Well, yeah, that's what they're called essentially. So when you use nowadays, when you use recently, when you use lately, when you use since, for, these are all words that when you use them, they obligate you to use a particular tense. Okay? So they're called time markers. And if you're not familiar with which ones go with which tense, then definitely find a good grammar reference and do some work to revise those, okay? Because when you say recently, it doesn't make sense to say have. So you could have said there is ample evidence that recently women have been getting, okay? Or you could have said nowadays, and that would have been okay with have. Yeah, I know here I said ing, but have doesn't, we don't really say having in this type of context, so have would have been okay. Or you could have said, firstly, there's ample evidence that recently women have begun getting women have begun getting bigger wages than men generally. You could have done that. Okay, the central reason behind this may be that the world market favors the attributes that are strictly connected with that sex. For example, A recent study by the Spanish government shows that women women have made roughly 20% more money than males in similar positions, which has never been observed in the past. Therefore, it seems that if a woman in a family can bring more money for working exactly as long, not for working, can bring more money working exactly as long as a father, comma, more males will decide to not run duties, take on maybe duties would have been okay. Originally performed by the opposite gender while when females go out to make money. Okay, so this was your main idea, right? That the world market favors attributes that are strictly connected with that sex, but your support, your example had nothing to do with this. It was like completely irrelevant. And so what's happening is that there doesn't feel like there's a logical progression in your ideas. Okay, your example was not connected to your main idea. And we don't have any, not really, we don't have any support for your main idea. Okay. So I liked everything else. So maybe you should have rephrased your main idea. Okay, maybe that needed a little rewording, reframing, restructuring, something to go with the rest of what some of your examples were. All right, let's continue. Secondly, the negative impact of such a development cannot be overstated. Now, my word wants this to be one word. It seems that, although I know that a lot of people say you can do it also as two words. It seems that the sectors where physical strength without the, which is one of the most significant attributes of males rather than females, is needed. Wait, sectors where physical strength is needed struggle with important. What? Secondly, the negative impacts of such a economy were stated. It seems that the sectors where physical strength is needed, you don't need a I'm confused here. The sectors struggle with employment. All right. For instance, a report from the Daily Mail shows that in England, comma, due to the increasing number of males deciding to stay at home and take care of their children, the problem of shortages of workers in construction sites grew more than ever in history. Get rid of that the. Thus, it is possible to state beyond doubt that males are more suitable than females in some positions. Therefore, places where physical strength is demanded will suffer, and women will not decide to perform work that men would. Okay, fine. To conclude, from the examples and arguments given, I strongly believe that despite a higher compensation for women these days, the trend where fathers stay home to raise their children instead of a mother bears a negative value. It is predicted that this development will reverse in the future. Okay, fine. So you should have a pretty clear idea about what was strong here and what needed a little work here. You can see that I didn't really make a lot of comments here. Didn't make a lot of comments here either. Some minor grammar things, nothing really serious. Vocabulary was good. This paragraph, needed work, as did your introduction. Okay, the second half of the paragraph was definitely stronger. So let's continue. Great, we've got the rainfall chart. Fantastic graph, actually. The presented line graph shows how much rain fell in England, Scotland, and Wales over the year 2018. Overall, Scotland reported both the smallest and highest rainfall throughout the given period. Moreover, in July, a very similar amount of rain fell in the three mentioned countries. Okay, I guess that's fine. I have to tell you what the most common overview here is. And it's an overview that I think is actually really very good. The thing that I see the most often is that on average, England had the highest rainfall, yet overall there was considerable fluctuation in rain throughout all three countries. So you could see that England has the highest average rainfall because it doesn't have any of those lows that the other two have. All right, so that was a good thing to say. You heard me hesitate a little bit about your overview because I was kind of concerned maybe you're getting into detail territory. This whole thing about July, it kind of felt like a detail to me. I don't know if I would necessarily put it in your overview. Okay, so Then Scotland. I actually don't agree with you about what you said about Scotland because I think that Wales also had the same highest point. Look, and it's maybe there's like a little difference between the low points of Wales and Scotland, but it's so minimal that I don't know that I would have selected that particular piece of information for my overview. All right. In other words, it's something that's not like it doesn't stick out. It's not so obvious. We're like, oh, well, obviously this is most, the clearest trend. It's not that clear to me because you can see that I have to think. I'm like, well, I'm not so sure about that. Okay. And then you can see here as well. Okay. Let's keep going. In January, about 125 milliliters of rain fell in Scotland. Okay, good. Subsequently, the number dropped dramatically to approximately 20 ml in February to hit the highest point in the following month at roughly 140. Good. Afterwards, the number fluctuated to reach another peak in October at approximately 135. The number dropped afterwards, just rising at the end of December. Okay, perfect. That's great. You picked exactly the data points that I want to see here. Okay, you start with the beginning, then you went to the low, then you went to the high, then you went to the second peak, and then you went to December. Perfect. All right, let's keep going. Wales and England started the year with about 50 and 110 respectively. In July, Wales, don't forget your commas. In July, Wales recorded the highest amount of rain at 140 in July. Okay. The number subsequently dropped to 45 in August and remained stable until October. Good. And it increased again, just to fall again, reaching roughly 55 in December. Okay. All right, again, you selected really good information here. Let's keep going. Notably, the rainfall in England was fluctuating after the first month of the year to reach the highest point in July at about 130. Then it slightly dropped in the following months just to reach the level of about 130 again in September. The year in England not has ended, but just ended with as much as approximately 140 ml of rainfall. Okay. The only thing you missed for me in England, it was that low point. But generally speaking, I really liked the data you picked. I think you did pretty much exactly what I asked students to do with this. You highlighted the highs, you highlighted the lows, you mentioned this plateau here. So all of that was really good. I was actually very, very, very happy with this. I think you did an excellent job. So congratulations. Okay, so work on the stuff that we talked about as far as task 2 is concerned, and I'll be waiting for your next set. Okay, good luck to you.